Shalom, everyone, and welcome back to the Rabbi Avi Show, a production of Horizontal Media. On our last episode, we discussed how critical it is to push past frozen historical lenses when we talk about the diverse fabric of modern Israel. Today, we have a very special, deep reunion that brings that exact mission to life. Joining us remotely from Israel is my dear friend, Leah Avuno. Exactly 10 years ago, back in 2016, a young 17-year-old Leah came right here to Tucson to serve our community as a Shinshinit, doing a year of pre-military service. For those of you who were around Tucson or Beit Shalom or the Hillel Cafe back then, you already know what an unforgettable spark she brought to our town. But a lot has changed in a decade. After returning home, Leah served as an IDF commander, a commander in the Israel Defense Forces, a journey that the global public actually got a front row seat to when she was featured in the Amazon Prime Video docuseries, The Women of the IDF. Since then, she has transitioned into an incredible powerhouse of institutional leadership. She studied government and diplomacy, and today she serves as the head of the International Relations Department at Reshet Amit, the largest educational school network in Israel, managing 93 schools across the country. In this deep hour-long conversation, Leah shares what it's really like to bridge the socioeconomic divides in Israel's periphery. Her raw experiences commanding a beautifully diverse platoon of soldiers, and how she completely disarms propaganda and rigid Western frameworks, including a hilarious encounter with an Uber driver who was convinced it snows in Gaza. We also talk about her hands-on work providing vital emotional and therapeutic support to children in the southern districts, processing the ongoing trauma of October 7th. But before we dive into this fantastic conversation, a quick reminder that this show is entirely listener supported. If you value independent long-form media, please head over to patreon.com/horizontal media to support our work. Now here is my conversation with Leah. So good to have my dear friend, Leah Avuno, here joining us. Leah, welcome to the Rabbi Avi Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Why don't you tell our listeners all about yourself from your perspective?
All right. If I have to do it briefly, I would say that I am Leah, or Leah. I live in Israel, in southern part of Israel, but I was born in Gondar, which is a Jewish place, kind of like a city, village, back in Ethiopia. I made Aliyah when I was a baby, and my whole life pretty much was around Israel, southern Israel to be specific. Um, and I did my year of service in Tucson, Arizona, which is how I met you, which was one of the best experience I ever had in my life. I came back to Israel, got drafted in the military, did a lot of work in my community, worked with also Jewish teenagers from Canada and America. Went back to my community, worked in my community to develop it, and went to receive my degree at Reichman University in government diplomacy and strategy. I finished that. I worked in the Israeli government, the parliamentary advisors, all type of positions. After that, I went back to education, and now I am the head of the International Relation Department at Reshet Amit, which is Amit Children. It's one of the biggest. It is the biggest educational network in Israel. We have 93 schools, and I'm a graduate. I went there for 12 years, which gave a lot to my character development. And now I'm trying to give it back. I'm trying to give back to the community, and I figured politics is not the right way to do it, but education is.
All right, that's wonderful. So what's your primary responsibilities for the school system?
So basically, we make sure that we have in Amit we have something that's called 30-70% ratio, which is basically we take 30% of, how will I say that? Like very well educated citizens, very well wealthier cities, I should say, Tel Aviv, Ra'anana, for those of you who know, and 70% are the periphery places, like my house, like my city, the place that I come from. Very low socioeconomic background, many new immigrants from Ethiopia or Russia, Moroccan, mostly I would say northern and southern Israel. We're trying to close the gap between the 70% and the 30%. Meaning we give them the same exact educational program, same exact opportunities, but we know that the approach is different, the support is different, the way we speak to the parents is different. Now that I'm in a position where I received the perspective of both sides, of the wealthier, educated side of Israel and the one who struggle more, now I'm able to be the bridge, and I'm going to the States. I'm trying to, you know me, but I'm trying to build a bridge between the Jewish diaspora and the Jewish people here. And I really believe that it has to start with the kids. It has to start from a very young age. For us to understand that there is someone on the other side that is thinking about us, praying about us, donating, doing everything they can to make our life better, and vice versa. We have to understand, we just have to understand that the Jewish nation is, how will I say that, located in Israel, but we have branches all around the country, all around the world. If that makes sense.
That's incredible work that you're doing. Let's give our listeners, and we'll put it in the show notes, a website they can go to donate to your organization. Can you give us a
Yes.
where should they go?
You, first of all, you can always reach out to me if you want to be involved in any type of way. I do a lot of tours, especially in the southern districts. After we experienced October 7th, there's a lot of kids that need more, other than educational support. They need uh, emotional support, psychologists and therapy, and a lot of other things that I'm working on. And you can go to amitchildren.com and you can read all about it.
All right, we'll put that in the show notes.
Thank
Um,
you.
it's 2026 now, which means it's been exactly a decade since you were walking the streets of Tucson as an 18-year-old Shinshinit. For our listeners, Shinshinit is somebody who's, or Shinshin is somebody who is spending a year doing service on behalf of the state of Israel before going into the military, or before doing even more service, depending on what track you're on. Looking back at that and you did your service here in Tucson, looking back at that 18-year-old version of yourself landing in the Arizona desert in 2016, what was the biggest shock or surprise for you when it came to how American Jews viewed or understood Israel? And how did that reality match up with the expectations you carried from home?
Well, first of all, when I'm talking about the United States, for Southern Ethiopian Jewish girls in Israel coming to Tucson was very confusing because it looks just like Israel. It looked just like my space in my area in Southern Israel, like Beersheba almost. But then I got to meet the people and it made a lot of sense. I think that that was the first time I ever saw, like, eye to eye, an American Jew that knows nothing about me, but also I don't know much about them, I have to admit. So coming to the United States was very surprising. Visually, when you think about the big America, you think about the big signs, the big places. All the Jewish people are very well educated. They're in all different fields and all of that. And when I came to Tucson, I saw two things. First of all, I got to meet American Jews for the first time, looking at them eye to eye, and conversations that I never had the experience, I never had the opportunity to experience. But it's also the community specifically in Tucson, which I think is different than other places. Now that I'm older and I traveled a bit, um, I think it was eye opening because I knew that they don't know anything about my lifestyle or my story, or even some of them don't even know my community. They're not familiar with that. But I didn't realize how much I don't know about them. And I think that was the biggest lesson I took. It's not always going to do a service, a gap year outside of your country when you're 17, 18, because you need to teach people, or because you like the ignorance I have, the lack of knowledge, I should say, I had was very big. And because the community was so supportive, your shul or other places were so accepting of me, I was able to give and teach. But I think I received much more than I gave.
So good to hear. Um, you made a huge impact, and I remember so vividly when you and your cohort were assigned to our Jewish community here. And as you said, at our congregation at Beit Shalom, we had the true privilege of utilizing your energy on a weekly basis across various programs. But I really got to know you well during our weekly lunch and learn sessions, if you remember,
I
together
remember.
at Hillel in the cafe there, and our trips out. You and I would drive to the University of Arizona campus for student outreach. Do you want to speak to that?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that I wouldn't be able to bring myself the same way if it wasn't with you. I think you was so open-minded to different ideas, and I think everything that I said, that I told you, even if it was a really bad idea looking back, you were very supportive and able to see why it matters. Because yes, I was young. Yes, I was, very naive back then. I was again 17, 18. But you gave a place to me being Israeli, and that's the type of Israeli I am. So if I want to talk about these two pop stars in Israel, you saw a potential in it. You saw a meaning in that, and that's what made it so successful. I think that why I was able to connect to the students, and I think that we did many big things after that as well. For example, the church we went to, other things. We did a lot of things, and we were able to do it because we were both very open minded. So that and I also think something very specific about students in the universities in America. I think it's very tough. I think it's just getting harder as time goes by.
So you probably think back of your experience really meeting a lot of university students, and we wanted you to because they were your age, and it was good for you to actually have the opportunity to communicate with people your age. Also, it's very kind what you said. I don't think you had any bad ideas, by the way, Z. Because you are obviously an Ethiopian Jew of Black African descent, your presence allowed us to connect, as you said, with the broader Tucson community in a completely unique way. I still think back to when you spoke at a local African American church here, and when you served as a guest presenter for Martin Luther King Jr. Day at Centennial Hall, right on the, which is a very large venue on the University of Arizona campus. You made a massive, lasting impact on both the Jewish and African American communities here by truly tying those worlds together. Can you speak to that?
Yes. And again, I know that you're interviewing me, but I think it's a platform to say that it's so important to learn from this because the idea came from you. You were the one who was very curious about it. Again, when I see myself as Jewish first. That's how most of us in Ethiopia, that's how we were brought up. Like, you're Jewish. Before you say Ima or Abba, before you say anything like mom or dad, you say Zion, you say Zion, Jerusalem. That's the whole idea of your existence, to go back to the land of Israel. And I think that once I got here, I kind of forgot that I'm Black. I know it sounds funny, but it wasn't part of my identity, especially because Israel is so diverse, and it's not where I grew up. At least it's not a big deal. Of course, you see that, like, there are cases and individual people that will say offensive things, but it's everyone saying to everyone when it happens, meaning we have Moroccan, we have Yemenite, we have Ethiopian, we have Russian. There's no two groups that fight each other like you see in other Western areas, countries. And I think that here it was an idea that I realized I have power. Being an Ethiopian Jew is not waving the black card. It's saying that's who I am. I'm not representing anything. That's what I used to say when we met the general community in Tucson, the Latino Jewish Teen Coalition, or when we went to the church, the Black Baptist Church. It was the first time I was able to realize and connect why I'm here, why I'm connecting with other people, sharing my story and saying that the Jewish people, I also wrote a post about it 10 years ago. When you see a Jewish person, um, not even when you see a Jewish person, when someone talks about a Jewish person, most people in the United States have a certain image, and it has to be successful, and it has to be white, and it has to be a man, or with a kippah, or whatever image they have. I realize I'm able to break this image. I'm representing hundreds of thousands of citizens in my country, but I'm able to change the perspective. And I'm not even trying so much. I'm just being myself. And I think that was the most beautiful part about it. Tucson community, the general community, not just the Jewish community, was so curious. Almost even in Hebrew we say Ra'av leyeda. They were starving to know more about the country that I'm coming from, the country that I'm representing. And I used to say, I'm not representing Israel. I am Israel. This is who I am. I don't, it's not a role that you have to, I don't know, read lines and be prepared in front of a mirror. No, that's just who I am. That's who I am with my mother. That's who I am with my sister. And that's who I am with you guys. And I think that the authenticity, sorry, you see, I'm Israeli. I told you, I still have an accent.
Your English is
Um,
so good now. It was already good back in those days, but it's gotten
You don't
even
have to
better.
lie. You don't have to lie, Rabbi Avi. I know it wasn't like that.
It
Uh,
was. Thanks to Ellen, by the way, the Ellen
yes, the excellent
show.
DeGeneres. That's true. That's true. But yes, I think that being authentic and being open and just realizing that there's something bigger than all of us. It's not even just about the Jewish people, but we can help the world see what it's like when you're isolated in a northern village in Africa, in northern Ethiopia, and you're isolated in some place in Russia, having to hide your identity, your Jewish identity, or in Morocco, or surviving the worst thing that ever happened, the Holocaust, and coming back to this, coming to the States, building a new life. We all have something really big in common, and we didn't even know each other. One story that I used to say is that our grandparents, they didn't know about white Jews. So you guys were not the only one who was surprised. We were surprised. We didn't know. We didn't realize that. And I think that with this generation and with social media and AI and all of those things, it's really important to first of all push the truth. When we're in the front lines, and when I say we, I mean young Israeli people, I think we are able to tell our parents and grandparents' stories the best. We are not even the final product, I would say, because again, Israel is very young. It's a very young country, but we are becoming that final product of being fully Israeli, but never forgetting where we're coming from, because this is our story and our story keeps repeating itself. You could see on October 7th when I was hiding with all of my family members in serving, like going in the same morning to protect the country, and I got like a notification from the military calling me to come, and my mother had to choose which child she stays with her, or who's helping with the younger siblings, and which one of us goes to the army. And those places, you have to understand, that's why we do what we do. That's why we have the Shinshinit program, the Gap Year program. That's why we have the Jewish Agency emissaries in general. That's why we go and do this and talk about it out loud, because for so long we didn't speak about it enough. Nobody knows the atrocities that happened in my grandfather village in Ethiopia when Christians and Muslims chased them down. Nobody talks about it because we didn't talk about it. So when we talk about it, we acknowledge it, we let other people see a different perspective. So social media is full of lies. Social media is full of so many horrible things. So the least we could do, even if they outnumber us, we can speak about our stories authentically, and nobody can argue with me that we pray to come to Jerusalem. It's not about, new modern ideas like states and democracy. No, we did the same thing for thousands of years. We pray to come here and build a house, because this is what Hashem wanted us to do. This is what God wanted us to do.
I'm right with you. I want to say, like, just as your family and the entire Jewish community in Ethiopia did not think of themselves as black Jews, that they knew that they were Jews. They were part of Klal Yisrael. That's it. Same thing for, and I've talked about this on the show, for my family in the Pale of Settlement in Ukraine and what is today Belarus or Russia and different places, Poland, Germany. My people also were not Germans or Russians or Ukrainians. We were not even considered white. We were just considered Jews. And so now it's interesting how we all talk about each other in these terms, but these terms are kind of ridiculous terms. The bottom line is we're part of an ancient people. We've come back to our homeland, and the world doesn't understand who we are. That's very clear, and you're doing your part to really educate. And part of that is, after the impactful year that you had here in Arizona, you went back home and entered the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces. And the world later got to see, it was released after COVID kind of calmed down, but the world later got to see a glimpse of your service when you were featured in the Amazon Prime Video docuseries, The Women of the IDF. When you look back at that transition from bridging communities in the diaspora to serving on the ground in the military. How did those two experiences inform one another? And what did military service teach you about leadership and mutual responsibility that you couldn't have learned anywhere else?
So I think, wow, that's a really good question. I think that you can never prepare to the military service. So I did something that not most teenagers in Israel do. I should say a lot of Israeli people do choose to do a gap year in Israel, in the hospitals or with kids or with elderly, whatever. They choose to do it in addition to their military service, but doing it outside the country is obviously different. We were 114 Shinshinim gap years that did gap year, and I think that I had one experience of what it's like to be Israeli, and you come and you're very proud of of who you are and your story, and you receive this confidence in your story and your identity, but then you come back and you have to prove it, meaning you have to do your IDF service. I mean, when I say you have to, is most of us choose to do it. If you don't want to, there are many other ways to get out of it, but most of us do understand that it's something that is important to us. So when I got to the military, it was like, okay, it's one thing to go represent Israel. Well, you got to travel a bit, you got to travel to very cool places, take pictures, have fun. But then now you have to wake up after 2 hours of sleep to defend your country on the border, and you get to see very, very bad situations. Um, and it's not easy. So I think that the army service was one of the most challenging experience I have, physically, mentally, anything that you can think of from every perspective. But it was also very empowering because that's the first stop in Israel that you get to see the whole Israeli society. So when you live in the southern area like me, again, as I said, my city is very low socioeconomic background, and mostly Ethiopians. Like my school had like a very high percentage of Ethiopian girls, or my city have 20% of Ethiopian people, where we're only 2% of the general population. So when you go to the military, and I was a commander. So my soldiers were Arab and Druze and Cherkessim. I don't even know how you say that. Cherkessim and
The Cherkessian are really Muslims who come from Russia and
yes,
live in the Middle East, and they're very pro-Israel. A lot of people don't realize that. But go ahead. Sorry.
yes. No, it's a really important thing because I got to see them the first time when I was in the military. I thought that I know my country like my hand. Apparently I don't know all the different or the Black Hebrews from Dimona or many other places in Israel that I got to discover, and many different people that I got to be the commander of. So standing in front of a group of 15 soldiers that just finished their high school, and I teach them how to use their gun and how to I take them to their first shooting range, or I teach them how to even fix their shirt when they're in public, because now you're a soldier, you're representing the IDF, you're not just representing yourself in the train. So all those conversation, me being a Ethiopian girl, it's a thing, because it's a thing, because if I would go and I would be without my uniforms, I wouldn't get the same reactions. But now that I'm a commander, I'm a female, I'm from the southern, and they can realize from the way I speak that I'm a southern girl. But now I'm the one with the power. I'm the one who will tell you if you go home for the weekend or not. So I think it was very eye-opening for me, for them, for everyone. Um, it's not about you. That's the thing. We all have the same uniforms, different faces, but same uniforms. We all here for a bigger cause. And I thought it was beautiful. I had a Drew soldier in the series that he told me that in his family's tradition, male don't do kitchen services. They don't clean, they don't cook, they don't do all of that. And I told him, listen, I'm Ethiopian. It's the same. But look, all the Ethiopian soldiers doing it, because I explained to them that you have to do it. That's the whole point. You're not leaving your lifestyle here. You're protecting the country. You're doing a bigger cause. So even if it's just washing the dishes, the day after washing the dishes, we go together for the southern border and we stop terrorists from coming in. So one thing is necessarily connected to the other thing. The smallest mission you receive from your commander in the army, it shows how you'll do on the big ones. So I think that's a lesson I learned. And when the offer to do a big TV show, a series, it was very odd in the first place, because we don't even use our phones. You're not allowed to bring your phones in meeting. You're not allowed to take pictures from the base. And all of a sudden, like, an American production team comes in with cameras on me and my soldiers. But I knew that I really want to take part of it. And I do want to say yes to this opportunity, because I wanted everyone to see what I see. When I came back from the States and I realized how much misinformation there is out there about the IDF, I wanted people to see what it's like. And what it's like is 18 to 20-year-old soldiers that all we want to do is just like you guys. We want to go, we want to party, we want to go to the beach and travel and see movies and buy clothes and go to concerts. But we can't. We can't. Why? Because 7 other countries are trying to kill us. So you have to do your obligation. You have to be worthy of the land you live in. You can't take everything for granted. So I think that the balance between the two, when you're like, I could have been like 21 days in the base, barely sleeping, um always dirty from my gun, all of my body is filled with marks from my guns, and now I'm like home and I go out to for a drink with my friend. It's the difference is so big. Even if it's 30 minutes away from where you live, that on the border there is life threatening situations all the time, 24/7. And 30 minutes away, you go for a drink with your friends. And the only way that this life is possible for me is because I did what I did. And now I'm done. And now my siblings are doing it. And my cousins are doing it. And their kids and our kids will do it in the future. So I think that what the general community outside of Israel don't understand is exactly that. We have to navigate so many emotions when we are there. Even like small stories, like I had a soldier, I don't know how much I can share, but she had a mission to do. Some of my job, other than training soldiers, is going to very sensitive areas and check Palestinians that wants to work in Israel. So you have to take their documents, you have to check it, you have to do a body check, you have to do all of those things. You always send them their way with a smile and with a good day. So I had a soldier that was like navigating such a tough situation, and she did an amazing job, and she was amazing. But then a minute later, she was crying because a guy she liked wasn't liking her back. And I remember looking at it and saying, "We're amazing. Like we're so good. Like, look at what we're doing. We're mentally, we're trying to stay the same age as we are, but also dealing with ideas like death and soldiers and terrorists and attacks and bombs. And who can do that? What other nation can do that like that? It's either it's completely like militarized and wars and bad things, and you don't have the free life you want. You can't really do other things. And Israel is somehow, I don't know how, with the help of Hashem, is able to do both. And we're good. Even though we experienced October 7th, and I thought that my life is about to be over, now I'm able to enjoy life and to see the beauty in life. And I think that was the reason I wanted to do the show. And that's what you see on the show, that you can see us all. It's us 5 girls. We go out on the weekend, we drink, we do this, we do that. And a day later, all of us in different borders of the country, protecting the country.
Let's talk about the reality since we've been living since October 7th. We've seen a massive wave of ideological conformity on Western campuses, as you kind of made reference to, and a sudden relational fracture affecting so many young Jews who feel isolated by their peers. As someone who works deeply in education and strategic community leadership and you've traveled the world really for your career now. What have you observed about this deep ideological gap between Israel and certain segments of the Western world? How do you process it when Western critics try to project their own rigid racial frameworks onto the incredibly diverse reality of the Middle East?
It's a really tough question, because I think, as you mentioned, through my work in diplomacy, I got to travel Taiwan and Thailand, and I went to South Africa, and Poland, and I went to many other places other than the United States. It's important to note, because my perspective is because I went to other places. And I think that something in the United States is so problematic because it's rooted in people's mind that everything is black and white. Literally everything is black or white. And when I went to the apartheid week in South Africa, and people were crazy and they said crazy things, and it was difficult. But the difference is, nobody was speaking on behalf of my name. In America, when I come to the United States, when I come to New York, or when I like a Columbia campus or Harvard or other like Ivy Leagues, I come there and I see people that are educated and they're so nice, and they're like, on their surface level, there's no reason for them to be rude. And then they talk on behalf of my name, on behalf of my story, on behalf of my grandfather that made the Aliyah process, that made the long way to Israel. And that's what pissed me off, to be honest, because first of all, I think it's degrading what you guys have been through. You went like slavery. That's no joke. Like, you can't take slavery and compare it to something that's happening in a democracy, in the only democracy in the Middle East. That's saying that your story is not important enough to be exactly correct in your facts. When I learned about slavery and when I learned about racism in the United States back in the day and today, my heart was shattered, and I took it so seriously, and I read about the stories and about the meaning and what it led to today in today's industries, in music industry, in fashion industry even. I really took it seriously, because, as I said, if I want someone to know my story, I want to know their story first. And being able to say that Israel is doing what uh, the white Americans used to do for black people, I think that's the most disrespectful thing for you. Not even for me. I'm not. We're out of the picture. For you, I think it's degrading. I think it's not given the respect it needed for history. And besides all, it's just not true. It's not true. Like a simple Google search or a simple message to someone, Arab or Israeli, that live in Israel, will tell you the full story. Or if you want to take a further side and you spend so much energy and time on protesting in Ivy League's campuses against occupation or against genocide, why won't you book a flight here and protect them, or see with yourself the genocide that is going on. So, I can share one story. When I was in the States, I went on an Uber, and the Uber driver was an African American, and I had my Star of David necklace. And he looked at me, and he was chatting, "How are you? How's your day?" And I was speaking, and as I was speaking, he was obviously able to say that I'm not American. He understood my accent, and he asked me where I'm from, and I said Israel. Very, very nonchalant, like regular. Didn't make a big deal out of it. Israel. And the Uber driver almost like crushed the car. Like he was like looking back with his head, looking in the mirror, like making sure that I'm actually black. And I said Israel, and I said, yeah, yeah, Israel, Israel. I know you probably never met I think I said Ethiopian Israeli or black Israeli, but there are a lot of us. There are too much of us, I would say. And he said, no way, how is that possible? And all of that. And then he learned about Ethiopian Jewry, and many of his opinions about the white supremacy Jewish people have completely was not relevant, because I'm part of Israel. I am Israel. And you can't say that am I racist against brown people? I'm black. How am I racist? Like, and then he said another thing. He said, well, this morning I just opened my phone and I saw a video of your IDF soldiers shooting up children, and they're freezing in the snow and they're still shooting them. And I was like, and he was like, what? And I said, did you just say snow in Gaza? That's AI. It's not snowing here. It never snowed in Gaza. And it was so funny. And he felt like he should have done a bigger research before bringing it up. And I'm not, and I'm never judging. Like, I told him, like, everything you have in mind, we have 15 minutes to have a conversation about it. But when you say you saw a video of children in Gaza in the snow freezing and people shooting them up, you should have did a little bit of research on when was the last time it snowed here in Gaza, or it's like 20 minutes away from here. I promise you, it never snowed here, not in my lifetime. So I think that we have to be understanding, but we also have to be very able to put boundaries, and not let people do anything they want and still have us in the same table speaking about it. If you have a lot of misinformation on your end, I'm here to talk about it. I'm here to prove you, and I'm also here to say, yes, we're bad at this and this and that. What country doesn't have a dark history or something that went bad in their country? Like, it's human beings. Like, racism is a global thing. But when you take one story or one video you saw and you make it so big, that's propaganda. And I'm here to show you why it's propaganda.
Let's talk a little bit more about the antidote to what you're describing. There's a growing push to move away from old top-down institutional alliance building, like the classic model of a rabbi and a pastor meeting for a formal dinner, and instead focus on grassroots, authentic relationships with real cultural influencers. In your own educational work, and you're speaking of it, even in Ubers and your global travels, what does effective bridge building actually look like today? And if the old institutional models are stalling out, how do we encourage the next generation of Jews and non-Jews in a way that actually holds weight and builds resilience?
It's a really good question. I think that it's not this or that. It has to be everything. Meaning, I believe personally, as I said, I worked in the political field with the Israeli government, with the big names, but I wasn't able to do the same impact I did now when I'm in education. And I think that's the key to this. I think rabbis and pastors should sit together and talk and have genuine relationships. The relationship can be however they define it, but it has to happen. But it also has to happen in any other field. If it's music, if it's science, if it's anything, if it's agriculture, we have so much to learn from the world, and the world can learn so much from us in completely different fields. So when you go, for example, to the streets of Herzliya, to the campus that I went to, in Rachman University, you could see a student from Ghana, never hearing about Israel before, but seeing an opportunity to come here for an agriculture program that really is able to help his hometown back in Ghana. So he came here and he did it. And that's the connection that he made, because he met the Israeli students, and they talked about the soil and the different grains they do. That's the relationship that happened. So obviously, no religion is attached to that. No government official is attached to that, but it worked. So the same in music and the same in everything. But I think that in order to be able to understand how to do it, you have to go out to the streets and meet people eye to eye. You have to be able to let go of old ideas, even if you fell in love with them. And that's the story that matches your head, that the Jewish people are like that and we're like that. And it never goes together. I think it's not the truth. We saw it in Tucson when we brought the Jewish people and African American people together. And they realized that the African American community and the Jewish community have so much more in common than they want to think, or that is convenient for them to think. But both of them went to the worst atrocities, the worst challenges a nation or people or race can go through. And they both blossom from that in different fields, maybe, or in the same field. It doesn't matter. But I think that the idea of being able to know that the person in front of you have so much to give you is what is the key to it. If you're a politician or if you're a 5-year-old, you can always learn from every person. You have to be able to sit down and listen. At first, when I saw that people are against my country on October 7th and they're online bashing everything we worked hard on and telling me how my life is as a black Israeli, at first I was very mad. I didn't want to speak to them. I was reporting everything I saw. And then I started to comment, but not with anger. I started to comment with curiosity, with saying, why do you think that? How did you get to this conclusion? Or what led you up to this? Because obviously we all have different things that manage us, that manage our responses and manage our brain. It's brain chemistry. It's not even in our control. But when you, for me, it's from a more spiritual, religious point of view of being able to understand that you're not the center of the world. You don't matter at this point. The person in front of you matters. And even if he hates you and he blames you for things that you don't even have anything to do with, you still respect him to a point. Again, to a point. We saw many other attacks that we cannot tolerate, but if it's still in the conversation level, just be able to be like, okay, this person thinks X, Y, and Z. Let's see why. What led him to this conclusion? Maybe I can change it. Maybe I can change it, but maybe I will be able to understand him better. Even if I don't agree with him, I will be able to understand. So I think people lost the patience that I can say that my parents had, the elderly in my community had, the patience to be able to learn the person in front of you and think before you speak, think before you answer. And I think we're doing a good job with that, with all the hate surrounding and with all the anti-Semitism. But I think that we 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 have to start with the people in our field, in our area. If you're on a trip, then it's with the people that stay with you in the same floor in the hotel, that do weird faces or throw in sign, like, be nice, be nice, be nice. That's the best service you can do to yourself, to Hashem, to your country. I'm not just saying it to Jewish people. I'm saying it as a black woman. I'm saying it as a woman. I'm saying it as a Southern girl. I'm saying it to in any hat that I haven't had. But it's a question that I always keep asking myself, and I always keep changing my opinion on how to do it, or what's the exact way for me to do it. It depends on many other things. If you have kids, you're more sensitive to those things. If you don't have kids, you're more able to put yourself at risk, like at someone saying bad things to you. But you're able to have this conversation because it's just you. So I think every position in my life, when I was in the military, I wasn't able to speak on many things that I wanted to because it's political. And now that I'm not in the army, I'm in an educational system, in an educational organization. So there's a way that I say my things. I'm just saying that you can't lose the hope of changing someone's mind. And in Israel, we say, in Hebrew, we say, Kol Adam Olam Umlo. Everyone is a whole world. Every person, can you translate it?
And they have the same concept in Islam, strangely enough, that each person, it comes from the Gemara and from the Talmud, that every person is a world unto himself or unto herself. Each person is an entire world. And I think it does always come back to that personal connection that you're speaking of. Every time I visited you back in Israel over the years, and you've really, even if it was for 20 seconds, you tried to make time to meet up real quick that we could just touch base. I've been so incredibly pleased to see the career and impact that you've built for yourself, and also to watch you from afar, especially on social media and your postings and what you're doing. So, Leah, to close our time today, navigating these turbulent times, it requires a serious anchor. When we look at the intersection of modern identity, advocacy, and faith, what is the ultimate message, question, or challenge you want to leave our global audience today as they try to find their footing and carry their positions forward?
Wow. I think that's something that my mother always say. And it's love your kids, or your neighbor kids, or your cousins, or your nephews. Love the kids. I think when you focus on the kids in your environment, even if you have some that you're in contact with, and even if you don't, when you think about the kids, that's when you know you have a lot of job to do. And what I mean by that, because it's a very confusing phrasing, is we're not the center of the world. One day we are not going to stay here. You're not going to stay here always. And we all, or most of us, wish to leave a mark, some type of a mark. And I think that when you think about it, that our time here is limited and you want to leave a mark, that's what makes you be good. Be a good human, be a good person, be be good to yourself, be good to your parents and your kids and your cousins and your siblings, and be good to the rest of the world. You know, when we light the Shabbat candles, we do this movement. And in my house, maybe in yours too, it's like the first one is for yourself, first of all, because you want to be the light, if you want to give light to other people. The second one is your family, your relative, everyone you know personally, and you want to wish them the best. And the third one is for the whole world, because if you have love in your heart, nothing can ruin it. It's going to be very, very hard to bring your spirit down. And when you spread good, and you know the world will be better for the next kids, or the next generation that will be here, and we'll do this podcast instead of us one day, maybe your kids, Ezra, or anyone. That's what makes you be a better human and make the best decisions. Because I can't give you a tip on how to act, because it's individual, and we have to do a lot of cheshbon nefesh, and you have to do it. I would say daily, but I know life is busy, so weekly. Every Saturday, sit down with yourself, ask, how was I as a human being? Was I good? What can I be good at? And not from a place of criticism, from a place of growing and knowing that you can always do more good in the world. And we need that. We need that more than ever.
You are doing more good in the world. Listening to you today, Leah, seeing the proud, brilliant leader you've become since your days in Tucson, it brings me a lot of nachat, a lot of joy. May you continue to go from strength to strength, and may you keep shining that bright light of yours for all of Israel. Thank you for coming onto the Rabbi Avi show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I can't wait to see you again in Israel. And thank you so much.
What an incredible full circle conversation with Leah. Hearing her talk about her journey from her birthplace in Gondar, Ethiopia, to walking the U of A campus, doing outreach with me, to commanding a diverse group of Druze, Muslim, and Arab soldiers, and now leading international relations for 93 Israeli schools. It's just an extraordinary testament to the reality of modern Israel. I'm so deeply moved by the wisdom she shared at the end. In a world full of social media noise and shallow debates, she reminds us to center ourselves on the next generation, to focus on the kids, and to do the quiet, weekly cheshbon hanefesh, that deep inner soul searching to ensure that we are putting genuine light and goodness out into the world. If you want to support the incredible educational, psychological, and emotional therapy work Leah is heading up for children in Israel's southern periphery post October 7th, I've placed that link directly in our show notes so you can explore their mission and find out how to get involved or join one of Leah's regional tours. If today's conversation brought value to your week or gave you a beautifully authentic perspective on our global family, please take a moment to share this episode with someone who needs it. And remember, to keep these raw, corporate-free dialogues going, consider becoming a listener supporter today by heading over to patreon.com/horizontal media. Thank you for your support. Thank you for listening. And until next time, seek truth, build genuine community, and walk with courage. Shalom.